From a human behavioral perspective and a perspective of psychology, you have to really go back in history to understand how India as a culture and as a society functions. Contributes heavily to the fact that so many people in our country don't have even a proper single meal during the day to eat. Malnutrition and a lot of host of other issues are derived out of the fact that a lot of this food is grown, but it doesn't reach the right places. I always tell my team, we are not in the business of waste management. We are in the business of actually reusing and reducing waste, because that's where we make money. If you look at it from a household perspective, the more you waste, the more you have to go out and buy. So from a food perspective, again, if you can start implementing certain practices at your home, it would reduce your grocery.
The following conversation is with Mr. Manik Thapar of Ecowise. In this conversation, we try to cover various topics on zero waste management. I asked Manik what is it about food waste which troubles him. Also in the conversation, I asked Manik why he considers that waste management is equal to money management. The conversation continues to understand Manik's journey and how he has developed this interesting concept called Ecowise. Thank you, Manik, for joining the vision board, the Green Heroes of India, because I know your company well. So I have a lot of questions actually to ask you. The first question I want to ask is, why do you call yourself a trash talker? What this word actually mean?
Well, I think in terms of calling myself a trash talker, it's also sort of a pun on the word trash. And it's also giving it sort of a funny and interesting title, because a lot of people get very they get interested. Not too many people want to listen about people speaking about garbage and waste management. It's a very dry subject. So my idea behind this was to give it a sort of a fun spin. And trash talker was something that came to my mind, because people get enticed. They want to know what exactly is this, what is this guy all about, or what is he talking about. So that's where trash talking came into the picture, and we started using that as something where in any of our marketing material on social media, especially, trash talking is what is used to get people hooked.
The pun is very much intended, I'm sure.
Yeah, yes.
So I get very curious, because you are doing something which usually people are not doing, right? So there is a huge heap of garbage out there, which we all have contributed to,
Mhm.
and we are still continuing doing that. So what are this? Can you tell me the human behavior? Which you have. What are your learnings about the human behavior while running this organization? What are these key things that you think that we are missing or we are doing? Because I really wanted to know what is it that keep you going at it.
From a human behavioral perspective and a perspective of psychology, you have to really go back in history to understand how India as a culture and as a society functions. And unfortunately, throughout our history, any work that is looked upon as dirty, I would say, has been given to people, or has been contained and been done by people that our caste system has created and labeled. So what ends up happening is that even today, to a great extent, in a lot of households, whether that be upper middle class households, garbage is food that you had. Let's say you had food at dinner. once you're done with that food, whatever is left in your plate is looked at as garbage. So kids and parents in a lot of middle class, upper middle class houses don't even get off the table, take their own plate and empty it out in the dustbin. Somebody else does it. They don't even take their garbage out. So it's a mindset issue. It's what we are teaching our kids, what we have learned, what we have seen our parents do. So along with the mindset issue, it's also a big cultural and social issue where a lot of stigmas are attached to this sector, are attached to garbage. So it's going to be a long haul in order for us to change that mindset. And that mindset has to be changed from an early childhood perspective, where kids need to be taught that when you finish your food, firstly, you must finish everything that's on your plate. And if there is something left in your plate, then that needs to go into the composting bin. You need to go and do that yourself. You need to empty it out into that bin yourself. You need to wash your plate and then put it on. So these are just primary things, basic things that need to be taught and inculcated, because what ends up happening is that these same kids, if they are not taught these things, end up growing up, going into society, going into corporations where they are working with a feudal mindset in relating to garbage. And then when they go into these corporations, they behave the same way that they behave when they were at home and what is being taught to them at home, because that's what they are used to. It's not their fault. It's that they've just not been exposed to something different. So it's a massive mindset challenge. And the only way of changing that is through education. The only way of changing that is through showing values by doing it yourself and leading by example at a home level.
You talk about food waste. I have read so many things that you have talked about. I think you find food waste as kind of a crime almost. If am I right saying that?
Yes, because see, there is, in food waste also there's something called discrimination. Whereas, a lot of people will not buy produce. They will not buy apples because they've got blemishes on it. They will not buy bananas because bananas are a little overripe. They will not buy cabbage because it's not perfect looking. They will not buy, and there are a lot of things like that they will not buy because it doesn't look good. They will not look at the fact that it is perfectly edible and good to eat. So there's a lot of wastage that happens at that end. There's a lot of wastage, of course, that happens at our homes also, because we overcook or we put too much on our plates. It is, I would say, it is one of the biggest problems and challenges globally, food waste, and it has not been spoken about too much because a lot of the emphasis and attention has gone and switched towards plastic waste. But this is a massive challenge. It contributes heavily to carbon emissions. It contributes heavily to also the loss of GDP in our country. It contributes heavily to the fact that so many people in our country don't have even a proper single meal during the day to eat. Malnutrition and a lot of host of other issues are derived out of the fact that a lot of this food is grown, but it doesn't reach the right places.
I think we take our privileges for granted sometimes, or most of the time, I guess. So, I just want to continue with that question, because food waste is something which I think isn't a good topic to ask, and I want your views about it. How can we create a more evolved system? Because I believe that individually, if you're doing things, it might not add much, but if we create a system, it can add more value. And you are coming from that system. Actually, you have a company who is taking care of it in a professional way. So can you tell me more about it?
So from my personal perspective and from our company's perspective also, I am a personal stout believer of the fact that individual action will lead to collective good. It's not the other way around. It's not collective good that will lead to individual action, though that in some cases is possible. But what we need to do is that we need to get individuals to start acting in masses. So even if you've got, let's say, 10 individuals, and they can influence their circle, their social circle, and they add in another 20, 30 individuals. So you can think of it like a pyramid scheme, right? You need to get more and more people joining this movement. And once more and more people start joining this movement, then that individual action of that one person is multiplied into 100, into 1,000, into lakhs, into crores, and that's how we can actually start reaching scale. So I'm a firm believer of that. In terms of developing a system, I think it is important that those systems be developed not only at a household level, but also from a corporate perspective, from a commercial perspective, because you've got malls, you've got restaurants, you've got hotels, you got the big, massive Indian wedding industry that is catering to lakhs and lakhs of people, where there's massive amounts of food that is being wasted. Massive amount of foods are wasted and is wasted at the retail level, which is perfectly edible to eat. Also, there are other issues pertaining to food waste, such as expiry dates that are mentioned on food products. And a lot of these expiry dates are arbitrary in nature, which means that the food can very easily be consumed even after the date of expiry is gone. So there's a policy side of it, and then there's also an educational and understanding side of it from a household perspective. From an industrial perspective, of course, the challenge is that because a lot of these wedding houses and hotels and malls, they've already got paid for the food. For them, that wastage. So there are now companies and stuff that are coming on board which are actually collecting a lot of this waste, giving it to the poor. But more importantly, my personal belief is that in order for any system to sustain, it must generate a profit, whether that be from waste or anything else. I'm a stout believer of that. I don't believe that anything should be done for free, and there is no such thing as a social enterprise. It's a private enterprise, and a lot of private enterprises now abroad are entering into the food waste business, whereby they're collecting perfectly edible leftover waste from restaurants, repackaging it and selling it at discount through Uber Eats. People are actually ordering it because there's nothing wrong with the food that is left over in a restaurant. It's not being contaminated in any way. And these guys are only going to throw it away. So instead of throwing it away, these companies are now packaging it, and people are placing orders for it, and they're getting delivered to the house. So you actually reduce. So when you start incentivizing a business, when you start incentivizing corporates, you start incentivizing restaurants, you start incentivizing individuals, and then there is a strong motive to act. Because whatever people might say, human psychology is that when you give something, you want something in return for it. So I personally believe that there are a lot of ways that you can set up these systems here in India. It's already happening abroad. And I think slowly it will start coming in, the new breed of entrepreneurs coming in. Somebody will figure out a way of doing this.
So we need to create a more evolved reward mechanism, I guess, so that people get excited about it.
Yeah, we need to stop looking at this sector from a social perspective and start looking at it from a business perspective, because it is a business. We are not in the business. I always tell my team, we are not in the business of waste management. We are in the business of actually reusing and reducing waste, because that's where we make money. We don't, of course, a lot of companies make money by just collecting waste and dumping it. But that's short-term thinking. Where you actually start growing your company and start making money is when you start providing solutions to clients, individuals, whereby they can reduce their waste. And when you're doing that and you're making money on it, then it's a win-win for everyone.
I see a lot of times you saying that waste management is equal to money management. So what that means?
Well, waste management is equal to money management. You think about it on every line. If you look at it from a household perspective, the more you waste, the more you have to go out and buy. So from a food perspective, again, if you can start implementing certain practices at your home, it would reduce your grocery bill. Now we're looking, this is just food, but then you come onto something that is even more, um, I would say, torturous to think about and talk about, which is textiles, clothing. And every 6 months or every 3 months or 4 months, you're going out and buying yourself new clothes. When you have a closet full of clothes that you don't wear, new shoes, when you have a closet full of shoes that you don't wear, that's money wasted. That's all money that you could save. So these are all waste management. We run a waste management company, and I'm saying this, that waste management thrives on consumption. Waste management companies thrive on consumption. They thrive on the fact that consumers and industries are going to continue to consume at a greater level and continue to generate more and more waste, because
Right.
that's good for these companies, right? It's good for us also, don't get me wrong, but there has to be a different system around it.
Yes.
So waste is, more you waste, the more you waste money also. And we also talk quite a lot about less is more, because the more you have in every situation, the more problems you generate. And the less you have, the less decisions you have to make, and life becomes a lot simpler, both financially and in terms of making decisions.
So this is something different, but I still want to ask because that's what came to my mind. Are you a minimalist?
I used to be a maximalist earlier. I mean, if you put it that way, I used to buy a lot of stuff. But now, yes. And for the last almost 10 or 12 years, I've deployed a system where I don't buy too much. I maintain, I repair, especially with clothes and shoes and cars. I maintain and repair mostly, and keep reusing the same thing over and over again. So earlier, I used to be when you were young, you do get carried away, and there's nothing wrong with it. But when you're young and you start understanding the things that we are talking about, and you understand that it is not, overconsumption is not good for you, because one, it's not good for the environment, but it's also not good for you financially, because that money invested in the stock market or elsewhere could grow tenfold, hundredfold, and it would come to use, within 10 years or 15 years. Whereas those clothes or those shoes are not going to last. They're all depreciating assets.
So we have to learn the art of compounding, I guess.
That's right. Yes, it's all about money management. The corporations are trying to sell you more stuff, to buy more stuff, and you have to think about why certain things are being marketed in the manner that they are being marketed.
Yes.
And it is your money, so you have to make a decision as to where you need to invest it. Is it something that you really need, or is it something that you really want?
I have used your monthly drive service, so I do understand the quality you maintain. And it is, as I've told you, even before starting the interview, that has really helped me to segregate waste because I know how to do it. Your team used to guide us. So, what do you exactly do when you collect this waste from every house? I mean, I know you are collecting waste from Delhi and NCR. I think even Bangalore, I guess you do this,
That's right. Yes.
right?
Yes. So we're doing it in about 9 cities right now.
Oh,
So what actually and it's a monthly drive. What ends up actually happening to all that waste, it comes back to our facilities. It gets segregated again, because of course the level of segregation that we require is a lot higher in terms of what is given to us by our customers. Nonetheless, comes to our facility, the cardboard is again, baled, and then sent to the recycling mills. Plastic is segregated again into color, into different types of plastic, PP, LD, PET. So a lot of pre-sorting happens over there. After that pre-sorting, it then goes to those appropriate recycling facilities that deal with it. So every material that comes to us, similar action takes place. We pre-sort it again. We make qualities, different types of qualities. We need color sorting, then color sorting is done. In glass or glass bottles, again, they are color sorted. if glass is broken glass, clear glass is separate, green glass is separate, red glass is separate, because that's how these facilities take it from us. So once we collect it from you guys, our work is not done. Our work just gets started. Collection is just the first step of it. The real work happens when it comes to our facilities.
So, Manik, you are one of the heroes of this green drive which is happening in India. Who inspires you, and what do you have to say those unsung heroes who are doing it maybe every day to make India sustainable, and we don't even know them because we know all the people who are making a lot of money, but somebody out there, many people out there are doing some smart work and silently.
Yeah, I think the unorganized sector is one of the biggest contributors to recovering a lot of recyclables in our country. They don't get enough credit. They don't get recognition. And there are lakhs and lakhs of them. Small businesses, medium-sized businesses, some of them have also now become pretty large, from collection all the way to processing. So I would definitely say they are the unsung heroes, because without them, a lot of the collection and recovery of recyclables would not be possible. And I'm hoping, and we've also written to the government to try and incorporate them within the policy framework so that it becomes easier for them to get organized, and also easier for them to get permissions to work in various cities. Right now, it's very, very hard for them to do any work. It's actually very hard for anybody to do any work right now because of the policy regime. But I would say that they are probably on the top of the list over there in terms of people who are making a difference.
And the last question, actually, because I know you're in a vacation now, and I'm not
No, that's cool.
waste more time. I don't want to waste more time. But yeah, the last question would be: it's one of my favorite songs, actually, "Imagine" by John Lennon, and you have made it in your way. So tell me about that, please. I heard it thrice actually yesterday, and I found it very interesting. I found it very interesting because I could relate to what you said. But if you can just say some words about it and what made you make this song.
I listen to a lot of podcasts on my way to work, and of course I listen to music also on my way to work. And my brain is always functioning as to how I can relate this to what I am doing. And imagine this particular version. There's a singer called Eva Cassidy. I don't know if you've heard of her, but she sings a beautiful version of this song, Imagine. Of course, the lyrics were written by John Lennon, but the way Eva Cassidy sings it really makes you think in a different perspective. So when I was listening to her version, I listened to this song, and I thought, listen, there's a lot of stuff I can talk about by looking at this song, the wordings, and it relates to my sector. My mind was working, so I just sat down there and I just looked at the lyrics, and I saw how I could tweak it in my own way and say what I wanted to say, and that's how it basically just came up.
Can I just add one last question? I'm sorry with that, but I have to ask this.
Sure.
I think podcast kind of changed my life. There are multiple podcasts that I listen. I think that kind of changed the way I think, also the different perspective. What are your top 3 podcasts?
I love the Joe Rogan Experience. I don't know if you've heard that. It's very good. The other one that I really like is Gary Vee.
Yeah.
So Gary Vee does a bunch of podcasts that are very good. And the last one, and then there are I rotate between a whole host of them, but this other one is sort of a monologue by this guy called Bill Blur. And he is a comedian, but he just he goes on these rants for about 15-20 minutes about his experiences, about flying, about driving. So that is just like sort of a podcast that I listen to zone out and get a good laugh.
Thank you, Manik. Thanks a lot for your
Thank you.
time and your words. Hope I've not missed anything. I tried to cover as much I can within this
Thank
time.
you. Thank you for having me on here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.